If you can't, we'll look at the
I
file.
remember reading it somewhere, but I'm trying to look for the
Oh,
right
all
document.
right. That there was a receivership.
Yes, I can see it here.
What do you have on the
Yes,
receivership?
there's a Kairaba Beach Hotel Limited in receivership.
What is the date?
It's dated on the 22nd of April 2002.
2002.
Yes.
What about the receiver? Is the receiver mentioned?
Actually, the letter is trying to clear to the receivership that, to the Department of Lands and Surveys, that the mortgage, that the property was mortgaged has been released and is cleared. That's what the letter virtually is explaining.
Where does the letter emanate from?
It emanates from Panel Care Foster,
Signed by whom?
chartered accountant. It's signed by Peter Smith,
Peter Smith. Okay,
joint
that's
receiver,
his
Kairaba Beach Hotel.
okay, that's his connection to the property. All right. After K162 of 2004, do you have any other transaction?
Yes, actually, there was a letter sent to actually cancel that lease, and then a request to cancel the lease, request from the Department of Lands and Surveys to the Registrar General, requesting for the cancellation of the lease because the name of the leasee is not well spelled. They want to rectify that.
Oh, I see. So the lease was replaced.
There is no letter to show that it was cancelled from the Registrar General, but there was a request from the Department of Lands and Surveys to the Registrar General to request for the cancellation of the lease. But there was no further letter.
Sorry. What's the number of the lease that was requested to be cancelled?
That is K162. K162. 2004.
All right. Thank you.
So you are saying there's nothing to show that the cancellation was actually carried out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
So what is the last title over Kairaba Beach Hotel premises that you have in your file?
Yes, a fresh lease document is here prepared in the name of M.A. Karafi and Sons, Gambia Limited.
And what's the date and serial registration number, if you have?
The date is 31st of October, 2006. But it doesn't have, it's an unregistered, copy that we have in the file.
Do you not require that when leases, all leases are prepared by your Department of Lands and Surveys? Is that not so for signature?
Yes.
Is that lease signed?
Yes, it's signed by the Permanent Secretary.
What about the lessee?
It's also signed by the lessee.
So ordinarily, don't you require a copy of this registered lease once it's been registered by the Registrar General? Do you not require that a copy be returned to your department?
We do require that.
So basically, you don't have the serial registration number of this lease dated the 31st of October 2006.
Yes, as far as the documents in the files are concerned.
And that is the last title document in the file.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you check the sketch plan to confirm that again it applies to the premises known as Kairaba Beach Hotel?
Yes, ma'am. It's the same premises. The sketches are the same.
All right. There is a lease K72 of 1993. I would like you to take note of that lease and to see whether you can find it and whether it has any connection to that property. Meanwhile, do you have did you bring a copy of the file, or you haven't copied it?
I haven't copied it.
Then we'll have to tender the file. You'll have to apply for if you want it substituted by a photocopy. You have to tender the file as is. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted the Department of Lands and Surveys file of Kairaba Beach Hotel premises? Originally leased K141/1989, dated 26th of April 1989.
Okay. Before admitting these documents, I would simply like to comment that from experience, we know that original documents often get lost in commissions of inquiry, causing a lot of inconvenience. So we intend to admit these documents in this file, in the original, but we expect all the documents to be photocopied and substituted so that the original file can be returned to the Lands Office for safekeeping. That's what we intend to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Much appreciated.
What is this? Let's see. I'll put a note. Yeah, that original file. Department of Lands and Surveys file number SL stroke temp stroke 137 stroke 97 dated 6 September 1997 and containing documents dated as recently as 31st October 2006 in respect of Kairaba Beach Hotel Limited. Admitted mark SC 45. Note, original file is hereby ordered to be photocopied with the copies substituted and the original returned to the Department of Lands and Surveys for safekeeping. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any further questions for the witness.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sayan, you may leave.
Thank you.
I call, Mr. Chairman, I recall Mr. Muhammad Lamin Jiba. Can I have the file? These are the relevant exhibits. This is Galia. Is this Galia where Galia is? This is Galia meaning. I don't need this. He's here for Galia. The exhibits that were here this afternoon. Yeah, Galia shipping.
Yes, sir. We remind you of the oath, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Jiba, you're subpoenaed on this occasion in relation to the joint venture agreement between the government of the Gambia and Galia Holdings of Greece and the acquisition of two ferries, Al Jamdu and Kansala.
Yes, Your Honor.
You returned to the Gambia Ports Authority as managing director in
It started before my redeployment.
It started before your deployment.
Yes, Social Security.
Before your deployment to Social Security.
Council.
All right, tell us what you know about and your involvement in the joint venture agreement, its formation, and the subsequent acquisition of these two ferries.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I can recollect, maybe around February or March 2011, if my memory serves me right, I think I got a call from Mustafa Yabo, Permanent Secretary, Office of the President.
Please repeat the name. Who?
Mustafa Yabo.
Mustafa Jabo.
Yabo.
Yabo.
Yes, Your Honor. He called me to convey a message that there are some Greek investors who are with him at the office of the President. And that he sends on to come to the port with them for us to discuss the matter that relates to two ferries that they own and would wish to sell to the Gambia Post Authority and the ferries. Then after 10-15 minutes, they were in my office together with one Musa Bojang. I think he was the Consul General of the Gambia to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Musa Bojang.
Repeat the name.
Musa Bojang.
Musa Bojang.
Yes, Your Honor. So they came to the office and we took them to the boardroom of the ports. I summoned all my directors present that day to come to the boardroom to listen to them, to listen to their submission, their presentation. They gave a presentation, and I cannot recall it now, but perhaps maybe some of the pictures of the ferries were circulated, but I'm not sure. But I know that they made a presentation about the ferries they had in Greece. So after their presentation, the directors, including myself, we asked them some questions in relation to the ferries. From the discussion that ensued, we noted that in terms of the drafts of the two ferries, I think they were longer because I think they were more than 3-point-something meters or so. I cannot recollect, but I know the draft was the first thing that actually caught my mind because when they mentioned the drafts of the two ferries, I was of the view that they might not necessarily work here. Bear in mind that the maximum of the drafts of the ferries we are using, at the Banjul Barra ferry crossing points was 1.7 meters. And the vessels that they had intended to sell to us, their drafts were more or less double. It was about 3.5 or so. So I knew straight away that they could not work. We will have problems, if we are to develop or procure, if we are to develop an interest or even procure them for our own use here. I think at the discussion, the team that came with them really had the impression that the GPA management was opposing. We put up a strong case to say that we were of the view that the ferries would not work here. I think when they left, particularly when they left to the State House, I think when I went home in the evening or at night, the former president called me to express his big disappointment that we had opposed the purported sale of the two vessels to us, to the Gambia. And particularly, he really strongly rebuked me to say that, he learned that I personally, as the MD, led.
He learned that, sorry, repeat that.
He learned that I personally, as the managing director, was vehemently opposed to the project. That is what they told him. And obviously, from the tone of the voice, I knew that he was very, very angry and upset. But I told him that our position relates, we looked at it from a technical point of view. And we are of the view that as they were second-hand ferries, maybe the features they have, might not necessarily, there might be a mismatch of those features and the conditions and characteristics that prevail in both Banjul and Barra. So I did tell him that it's always my duty or our secretary's duty to provide sound and technical advice, particularly where it relates to ferries which are very expensive, to the government. So it was something personal. We were just, I thought my team and myself were just doing our job. Because maybe it's an area where the expertise I had at the time, was more than enough to be able to pass opinion on the products they were intending to sell to the Gambia Ports Authority. And I know it continued for some time because I think, I don't have the evidence, but anytime the president calls me to talk about the ferries, he will sometimes quote whatever statements I have made. And to me, I was of the view that perhaps he was either spying on my management team or there was a mole or there were moles who were passing information to him. The relationship between myself and him actually exacerbated or worsened to the extent that, I was redeployed to Social Security because he felt that I really opposed the proposed procurement of the two ferries from Greece.
You said the presentation that happened in the boardroom, the presentation by the Greeks was in March 2011. Did you say March?
Because at that time I was at the ports, yes. March 2011 I was at the ports.
When were you redeployed?
I was redeployed on the 3rd of April 2011.
Mr. Jiba, who was in the board meeting, in that presentation in the boardroom, apart from, you said Mr. Musa Abuja,
Mustafa Abuja, sorry.
Mustafa Yabo, yourself, and who else?
If my memory serves me right, I think nearly all the directors of the ports, including the ferries, were present.
Who were the directors at the time?
Mr. Halifa Bah was director of operations, who was present. I think Mr. Osman Jobati, Alaji Chorno Sise, Mr. Hali Ablai Gai, Abulai Kamara, maybe I'm not sure whether Mr. Mamadou Mboub, the Hawa Master team, was also present.
You are saying that at that meeting, the issue of the drafts of the ferries arose?
Yes,
was
but
discussed.
when they made that presentation, we asked them about the drafts of the vessels.
Who specifically asked about the drafts in the vessels?
I cannot remember. I cannot remember really. But I know that when the issue was raised, I was particularly enthused. I was particularly interested in their response because when they said it was 3.5 or so, from my body language, I really demonstrated that these ferries might not work here. But I cannot remember specifically who asked the questions. I cannot remember particularly.
So, all right. Before you were deployed to Social Security, there were missions to Greece to inspect the ferries.
Yes, Your Honor.
What can you tell us about those missions?
Because of the strong and growing opposition that my management team, not all, that I felt at the time. I think the proposed mission to Greece actually arose from the office of the president. And they sent us a list of the people who will be traveling to Greece through Morocco, because I think they had to pass through Morocco to obtain their visas. And in that list, I think the Secretary General at the time was Mr. Jogoba, was on the list. But specifically for the port, it was Director of Revenue Generation and Marketing, Mr. Hali Ablai Gai, and Mr. Keba Mane, who was a manager. And, he had some electronics and electrical background. He studied electronics.
Sorry, I didn't get the third one.
I said Keba Mane, who was a manager of the ferries. And when I saw the list, personally, I was not happy with the selection of two of my staff to accompany the team to go to Greece. And luckily for enough, when the president called me at night to ask me whether I have seen the list, when I'm aware of the list, I told him yes, but I want to propose that Mr. Haligai, Mrs. Haligai and Kiba Mane should be dropped and should be replaced by Mrs. Halifaba, Director of Ferry Operations, and Mr. Abulai Kamara, Director of Marine Engineering and Technical Services. But when I proposed that proposition to him, he really was very angry and told me that
Who was angry?
the former president was very angry with me, and said and told me that I should not bother to advise him on the ferries, because from the very beginning of the proposed season, I was completely against it, and that he has selected the team, and that even the office of the president is going to provide the funding, the cost of the travel, the sojourn to Greece, and that we are the supposed to keep our money.
And that, sorry, I didn't get that. And that what?
And that what happened. Yes, the first trip was sponsored by the office of the president.
So you were saying that the team was constituted without your input, and when you
Yes, Your
suggested
Honor.
changes,
I did advise that the team, yes, that responding from the post should be changed.
he was opposed to any changes.
Yes, because I was of the view that, Mrs. Salifaba and Abdullah Kamara, come from a technical background, and they possess vast experience, in ferries operations and even in the designs of ferries. The other one, Abdullah Kamara, was even a marine engineer, and he was head of the technical services. So in looking at the technical aspects of the ferries, in terms of designs and the superstructures, they would have been in a better position to be able to give advice, particularly as it relates to the conditions and characteristics that are both in Banjul and Barra ferry crossing points.
Now, is any of what you are telling me, is any of it in any documents, your advice to the president, the constitution of the team, and so on?
No, because I didn't put it in writing, because, as I said, I think when the two gentlemen from when Mrs. Boyang and Mustafa Yabo returned back to the office of the president, maybe they must have briefed the president that the response from the post was lukewarm or negative. So when he engaged me at night, from the tone of his voice and how we discussed the matter, I could deduce that it will not even be okay for me to put it in writing. But I know we discussed these things, and I think even when I came back, when I returned, when I went to work that morning, I was of the view that I must have informed some of my directors that the president had called me, and I proposed that they should the two selectees who were supposed to represent the ports, and that this will be replaced by Mrs. Halifa Bah and Abdullah Kamara. But he turned down my advice.
Did you discuss it with the Secretary General at the time?
No, I did not discuss with the Secretary General at the time. I did not do that. I only discussed the issue, matter with the President. Although I know the Secretary General was not made aware of our uneasiness or growing opposition to the project.
I'm going to show you SC39, which indicates the mission and its date, which was, can you give him SC39? This is a letter from Gambia Ports Authority to the Secretary General. Signed by Ali Abdullah Gai, and it's dated 7th March. It's a report on the mission and the inspection of the vessels. I draw it to your attention because the mission actually arrived in Greece on the 3rd March. So your board the presentation in the boardroom could not have been in March. So I'd like you to look at it, and if you would like, to give you the opportunity, if you like, to correct the date of the presentation in the boardroom.
Your Honor, when was this presented to the board?
This letter, which is dated 7 March, indicates that the trip to the mission arrived in Athens on the 3rd March, 2011. Do you recollect how long after the presentation in the boardroom the mission was put together and sent to Greece?
Your Honor, I'm just surprised or bemused that this letter was sent to office of the Secretary General.
What are you surprised about? You say,
Because-
I can't hear you.
Yes, it was sent to the office of the Secretary General, and it was not copied to reports and maybe to other participants who might have participated or had taken the journey to.
Are you saying you had never seen this letter before?
I can't remember seeing this letter.
Were you the managing director of ports at
I
this
was the
stage?
managing director, but
When the mission came back, did they report to you?
no, they did not. I cannot remember.
Did you find out what
Even though I know I'm on the oath, even though I can remember advising both Mrs. Keba Mane and Ali Gai that when they go to Greece, they should be very careful with their commentaries, bearing
with their?
comments, with their comments or notes or recommendations, because I was of the view that they are not sufficiently technical or professional in that aspect of the ferries. And I did tell them that I don't want the team to rely heavily on your submission. Whatever you come across, well, after the inspection, take notes. When you come to Banjul, bring your alpha reports or whatever to me and the management team for us to have a discussion on your submission before we put in a report. I can swear to Almighty God that I have told them that, the two of them, I believe them. But I'm surprised I can only collect actually.
But Mr. Jiba, you were aware that a joint venture agreement had been signed.
But we were ostracized. I was ostracized because I was told by the president that because I opposed the project, I should not have a hand or input, in the ferries.
So I didn't get your answer. You were aware
I
that a
said,
joint venture was signed. You were aware that a joint venture was signed during this mission?
Yes,
in
I was
Greece?
aware.
Yes.
I was aware.
So how did you become aware of that?
If my memory serves me right, I wouldn't say I wasn't told by Mrs. Ali Gai and Keba Mane, but I think, frankly speaking, I got the information from Pa Hali Jame, the Solicitor General. He told me. I'm not ruling out the possibility of the team not telling me from reports, but I can attest that Mr. Pa Hali Jame, who was part of the team, he told me that they have signed the joint venture agreement.
Okay, can you tell us what involvement you had? When they came back, what happened? After they came back from the mission, what happened?
I'm not so, I cannot recollect, but I'm not sure whether much discussion had been held at the port, bearing in mind that the trip itself was sponsored or funded by the Office of the President. So I was of the view that when they came back, I wouldn't say that they have not provided information to us, but perhaps in my view I was of the view that they must have reported to the Office of the President because they orchestrated and authorized the trip to Greece.
When the ferries were escorted to Gambia, were you there at the GPA?
I think I'm not sure whether I was at the GPA or at Social Security. I don't know. If I know the dates, because I've forgotten, sorry. I don't want to.
So what date specifically did you go to Social Security?
April 3rd, 2011.
April 3rd. Okay. After, when did
Sorry, Kajal. Time is up. So we'll have to rise now. And we'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock.